I drove up West Ridge Road because my uncle said the snow would be peaceful. It looked peaceful on a map. In real life, the sky went white and loud. For 5 days, something kept walking at the edge of the trees. It sounded like boots. It sounded like a person. It sounded like nothing I had met before. My name is Jebediah Quill. I work nights at a store in Meridian, and I like my white Ford Ranger. My uncle, Tobias Rook, told me about a cabin about 45 miles north of Boise, off-grid and simple. I went with 3 people, Marisol Cade, Ephraim Udo, and Lenora Vex. We wanted a break from the city. We wanted quiet. We brought too many snacks and a shaky belief that a week up there would fix things. The cabin was small, sagging porch, wood stove, old gas furnace that Uncle said almost always works. The floorboards creaked when Lenora walked and her boots scraped the kitchen. I forgot to take the trash out the first night and the kitchen smelled sour. We drank cheap beer and pretended we were tough. I remember Marisol tying her hair with a rubber band that had a tiny cut in it. Little things, stupid details. They stayed with me after. On day 2, the weather changed. County Road 22 closed. By 7 p.m., more than a foot of snow lay around the porch. Phones died. No signal. The truck was a white block outside. We joked about being in a bad movie. Then at midnight, the gas furnace sputtered and died. 1 minute warm, next minute quiet, like the whole cabin had exhaled. We only had the wood stove and a half-burned pack of kindling. On the 3rd morning, I saw footprints in the fresh snow. Deep, uneven, not ours. None of us had left after the storm. The prints circled the porch and led to the back tree line, then stopped. Just stopped right where the trees began. We stood there in our boots and looked at them like they were a mistake. Lenora said maybe a hunter, then laughed too loud. Ephraim touched a print with a glove and said it felt packed, like someone had walked slow and pushed hard. That night we heard something pacing in the snow beyond the trees. It sounded close to the cabin. Slow steps. A pause. More steps that always ended exactly where the fresh tracks did. Every evening, the same. We cut our talking down when it started. Nobody wanted to move first. Sometimes I would stand at the window and watch the dark line of trees and think the sound was just wind. Other nights, it was not wind. Day 4 was full of small, wrong things. The CB radio was scratchy. Canned soup tasted flat. Ephraim dropped his mug and swore. Lenora complained about a splinter and dug it out with a butter knife. I kept checking the stove and pretending that was enough. At dusk, again, the pacing at the tree line. We listened. It stopped in the same place like a foot had a favorite shelf to rest on. Day 5 got stranger. We had handheld CB units and a box of fresh batteries. At 6:13 p.m., each radio died in the same second. We had spares. We tried them. The radios only made a sad click. I watched the clock because it felt wrong. Marisol said, "Maybe it's a fluke." Ephraim said, "No way." He said it loud and then sat down hard. That night, none of us slept well. We decided to leave in the morning. We dug a trench around the Ranger at dawn. The truck was buried to the windows. We dug hard. I remember Lenora humming a silly pancake song so we would not think about the prints. We shoveled until our hands were raw and kept laughing to cover the tiredness. The engine coughed but started. The ride down West Ridge Road was slow. The trees closed in. I kept glancing back. Boise faded into thoughts of the route. Emmett, Caldwell, small dots on a map that should have felt normal. We were quiet. The truck felt heavy with the smell of wet wool and too much coffee. At a roadside diner in Emmett, I looked back at the ridge without meaning to. I don't know why I did. Behind the cabin, at the tree line, those same prints were still there. They were sharp. The wind had put down new snow and small drifts everywhere else. But those impressions looked like someone had carved them and left them. The edges were clean. The path in front of them had fresh blown snow, but the prints themselves were untouched. I said, out loud, "That's wrong." Lenora looked at me and said the word. We tried to explain it. Maybe an animal, maybe a hunter. Maybe the prints were made after the new wind and the snow drifted oddly. None of it fit with the radios dying at 6:13. None of it fit with the pacing that always stopped at that exact line of trees. We joked to make it lighter. Ephraim said maybe it was ghosts. Lenora smacked his arm and called him a motherfucker, half smiling so it was a joke and half not. It has been months, and the memory keeps going back to small details. The way the stove light made shadows on the wall. The smell of the trash I forgot. The sound of Lenora's boot on the floor. Marisol humming as she fixed the CB one night. Tiny things like that are louder to me than the prints. But the prints stay too, crisp in my head, standing in the snow where the wind did not touch them. Uncle Tobias shrugged when I told him. "Old places hold old things," he said, and then changed the subject. He would not go back up West Ridge Road. Neither would I, though I find myself thinking maybe understanding it would help. It doesn't. Trying to find reason makes a kind of noise in my head. The facts stay simple. We went up, a blizzard came, phones and furnace failed, prints circled the porch and stopped at the trees, pacing every night that ended at those prints. Radios died at 6:13 p.m., and we dug a truck out and left. People like to ask if I saw a face or a figure. I didn't. We saw tracks and heard steps that stopped. The worst part was the silence when nothing moved. The quiet felt full, like someone waiting. It did not matter if there was a shape or not. The prints and the pacing were enough. You keep thinking someone made a mistake. That is a good feeling because mistakes are fixable. But some mistakes are not mistakes. They are choices to stand and wait. I keep the map Uncle left in my truck. It's folded and stained with coffee. Sometimes I drive past West Ridge Road in daylight just to look. The trees seem the same. No fresh prints when I check. Folks ask if we were brave or stupid. I tell them we were wrong to think we could control that place. Control works when radios and furnace and phones work. Out there, those things stopped. The radios dying at 6:13 still sits like a mark. I check the clock on quiet nights and try not to think. Mostly I remember footprints that decided to stop and wait. I don't know. I thought the scariest thing about a winter cabin trip would be getting snowed in. I was wrong. What terrified me wasn't being trapped by the weather. It was watching my brother's GPS tracker move through the forest while he sat right next to me, 3 miles away from where the screen said he was. Look, I'm not someone who believes in ghost stories or anything like that. I work in IT support in Sacramento, and my brother Dashiell does construction in Reno. We're practical people. When we planned this cabin trip near Truckee, California, we thought about logistics. We rented snowmobiles. I got a Polaris 600 Indy, and Dash took a Ski-Doo MXZ. Both had satellite trackers because, if something goes wrong out there in the backcountry, you want people to find you. The cabin was this old place about 40 minutes from Tahoe City, accessible only by snowmobile trails that the Forest Service keeps cleared. The owner, this guy named Mr. Kephart, met us at a gas station to give us keys and show us the route on a map. He warned us about the weather forecast, heavy snow expected by day 3, but said the cabin had a generator and plenty of firewood. Dash joked that we'd probably just drink beer and play cards the whole time anyway. First 2 days were perfect. We rode the trails during the day, cooked steaks on the propane grill at night. I remember Dash complaining about how the bathroom door didn't latch properly so it would swing open randomly. Annoying, but whatever. Small stuff. Day 3, the snow started coming down hard. By evening, the wind picked up. Not crazy storm wind, but steady and loud. Makes this whooshing sound through the pine trees that kind of puts you on edge after a while. We stayed inside, played cards, listened to an old radio Dash found in a closet. Static mostly. but occasionally we'd catch bits of weather reports. Around midnight, I checked my phone out of habit. We had Wi-Fi from a satellite setup, which was spotty but functional. I opened the tracking app we both had installed, the one linked to our snowmobile GPS units. Mine showed my location at the cabin. Normal. Dash's tracker showed him 3 miles northeast. I stared at it for a second. Then I looked across the table at my brother shuffling cards. "Hey," I said, "your tracker's being weird." He glanced up. "What do you mean?" I showed him my phone. The blue dot with his name was sitting in the middle of the forest, nowhere near us. Dash pulled out his own phone and opened the app. Same thing. His dot was way out there. "That's bullshit," he said. "I'm literally right here." We both laughed it off. Technology glitches. Happens all the time. Dash mentioned maybe the satellite signal was bouncing weird because of the cloud cover. Made sense. But then his dot started moving. We watched it on my screen. Slowly, steadily moving through the woods. Not fast like someone riding a snowmobile. Slow, like walking speed. "Okay, that's messed up," Dash said. I felt this weird knot forming in my chest. Not panic, just unease. Because the logical part of my brain knew it was just a technical error, but the other part kept thinking, what if someone stole his snowmobile? We went outside with flashlights. Both snowmobiles were right there in the small clearing beside the cabin, covered in fresh snow. Untouched. No tracks leading away except our own from earlier in the day, already half buried under new powder. Back inside, we kept watching the tracker. The dot moved for another 10 minutes, then stopped. The location read as the edge of something called Martis Logging Quadrangle, according to the map overlay. Timestamp, 2:14 a.m. "I'm turning mine off and back on," Dash said. He powered down his tracker unit completely, waited, powered it back up. His dot stayed there, 3 miles out. We didn't sleep much that night. I kept checking the app every 20 minutes. The dot never moved again, just sat there. In the morning, we bundled up and rode out to investigate. Took us about 45 minutes to reach the general area where his tracker said he'd been. Nothing, just trees and snow. An old logging road, barely visible. No tracks, no signs of anything. When we got back to the cabin, I called Mr. Kephart, explained what happened. He was quiet for a moment, then said satellite tracking devices sometimes glitch during heavy weather. The network gets obscured by dense cloud cover and snow interference. The unit can ping from cached coordinates or bounce signals in weird ways. "Happens more than you'd think," he said. "Had a guy last winter swear his truck was driving around Donner Pass while he watched it sit in his driveway." That should have made me feel better. It didn't. Because what bothered me wasn't the glitch itself. It was that we couldn't trust what we were seeing. Couldn't trust what was real. If the tracker could show Dash 3 miles away while he sat next to me, then what else could be wrong? What else were we not seeing accurately? The rest of the trip felt different. Wrong, maybe. We'd be sitting there eating or talking and I'd think, is this actually happening right now? Is Dash really here, or is this another signal bounce? At night, the wind would snap branches in the forest. Each crack sounded like footsteps, like something walking through the trees just beyond our sight. Dash mentioned it once, said he kept looking out the window, expecting to see someone standing there. But we'd look and see nothing except darkness and snow. On our last night, I woke up around 3 a.m. The bathroom door was swinging open and shut, squeaking on its hinges. Wind from somewhere. I got up to close it and noticed Dash standing at the window looking out. "Can't sleep?" I asked. "Just watching," he said quietly. "Watching what?" He didn't answer right away. Then, making sure the snowmobiles are still there. I joined him at the window. Both machines sat in the clearing, exactly where they should be. But standing there, staring into that dark forest with the wind moving through it, I felt this overwhelming urge to check the tracking app. Just to confirm. Just to make sure Dash's dot was here, with me, where it should be. I didn't check. I was too scared of what it might show. We packed up and left the next morning. The ride back to Tahoe City felt longer than it should have. When we returned the snowmobiles, Mr. Keephart asked if we had a good trip. Dash said it was fine. I just nodded. I still have the tracking app on my phone. Sometimes I open it and look at the history log from that night. The data's still there, showing Dash's location moving through the forest, stopping at 2:14 a.m., staying there until morning. I know it was a glitch. I know that. But late at night when I can't sleep, I think about what the caretaker said. How we couldn't trust the signals, couldn't trust what was real. And I wonder, if the tracker showed something that wasn't there, could it also hide something that was? I don't go on winter trips anymore. I never thought a simple propane delivery could turn into something that still keeps me up at night, staring at the ceiling. It was just family helping family, you know. But that winter night in the Arizona mountains, everything went wrong in ways I can't explain. My cousin vanished like the snow swallowed him whole, leaving just one damn footprint. And the worst part? We don't know if he's out there, freezing, or if something else got him first. It's the not knowing that haunts you. Hey, this is me telling you what happened, like I'm sitting across from you with a beer. My name's Harlan, and I live in this old cabin off Black Mountain Road, about 20 miles from Flagstaff, Arizona. It's nothing fancy, just a place my grandpa built back in the 70s. Wood walls, a stone fireplace that always smells like pine even when it's not lit. I work as a mechanic down in town, fixing trucks mostly. Winters up here get rough though. Snow piles up fast, and if you're not ready, it can cut you off from everything. That year, 2024, was a bad one for weather. We'd had a couple feet already by late December, and the power flickered on and off like it couldn't decide. My wife, Eulalia, she goes by Lala mostly, and I were stocking up. We ran low on propane for the heater, so I called my cousin Kipley. He's the guy who delivers for the gas company out of Sedona. Kipley's always been reliable, you know? Tall dude with a beard that looks like he forgot to trim it for months. He drives this silver Toyota Tacoma, beat up from all the back roads. Anyway, Kipley said he'd bring up a couple tanks after his shift. I told him to be careful, cause the forecast said more snow coming. He laughed it off. Harlan, I got chains on the tires. I'll be fine. That's Kipley for you, always acting like nothing bothers him. He left Sedona around dusk, I think. The drive's about an hour normally, but with the roads icing over, it took longer. We were eating dinner when he called the first time. Lala made chili, the kind with too much onion cause she thinks it tastes better that way. I remember the pot was still on the stove, steaming up the window. Phone rang at like 8:30. Kipley said he was on Black Mountain Road, but the snow was picking up. It's coming down hard, man. I might not make it all the way. I told him to turn back if it got bad, but he wanted to push on. Stubborn like that. Then at 9:02 p.m., I checked the clock cause it was getting late. He called again. His voice sounded tinny, like the signal was weak. Hey Harlan, I'm stuck at that old Ranger turnout, you know the one? About 4 miles down from your place. Sudden squall hit, can't see shit ahead. He paused, and I heard the wind howling through the phone. Roads blocked with drifts. I'll just sleep in the truck. Got blankets and the heater. Don't worry, okay? I didn't like it, but what could I do? It's not like I could hike down there in the dark. Lala was pacing the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel over and over. She gets fidgety when things go wrong. Tell him to call if anything changes, she said. I relayed that, and Kipley chuckled. Yeah, night, cuz. The line went dead. We tried to relax after that. Watched some old movie on the TV, but the satellite kept cutting out from the storm. Around 10, I stepped outside to check the woodpile. The air was biting cold, and snowflakes stuck to my beard. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. No cars, no animals. Just the wind whispering through the pines. I remember thinking about how the cabin's roof sags a bit on the north side from last year's ice. Stupid detail, but it popped in my head while I stacked a few logs. By midnight, I tried calling Kipley back. No answer. Signal faded, the phone said. Bars dropped to nothing. Lala and I sat by the fire, not saying much. She knitted a scarf or something, her needles clicking away. He's probably asleep, I muttered, but I kept glancing at the window, expecting headlights. The floor in our bedroom creaks funny when the wind hits it just right, like someone's walking upstairs even though it's a single story. That night, it creaked more than usual. Kept me awake. Then around 2:43 a.m., I looked at my phone because I couldn't sleep. The engine roar hit us. Loud, like a truck revving hard. We both jumped up. Lala grabbed my arm. "That's him!" I ran to the window, saw headlights sweep across the tree line down the hill, bright beams cutting through the snow. They swung wild, like he was turning sharp, then vanished. Just gone. No more sound after that. I thought maybe he made it through the drift somehow, or turned around. But why no call? I tried his number again, straight to voicemail. Lala wanted to go check right then, but it was pitch black, storm still raging. "We'll freeze out there," I said. Flawed thinking, I guess. Should have at least tried, but fear makes you hesitate, right? We waited till dawn, tossing in bed. The clock ticked so slow. Morning came gray and cold. Snow stopped, but everything was buried deep. I fired up our old Ford Ranger. It's got four-wheel drive, chains too. Lala stayed back to call the ranger station if needed. I drove down the access road, slow because the path was slick. I felt this knot in my gut like when you know something's off but can't place it. Branches hung low with ice, snapping under the tires. Got to the old Ranger turnout. It's this pull-off spot, used to be for Forest Service trucks. Kipley's Tacoma? Gone. No truck. No nothing. The snow was smooth, like no one had been there. No tire tracks, no skid marks. Not even broken branches from where he might have pushed through. I got out, boots crunching. Walked around, yelling his name. "Kipley! Hey!" echoed back empty. That's when I saw it. One footprint, near the edge of the turnout. Half melted by the sun peeking out, but clear enough. Boot print, size about his. Facing into the deep woods, away from the road. Just one, like he stepped out and... What? Vanished? I stared at it, confused. Why walk into the trees? For signal? To pee? Didn't make sense. Woods there are thick, full of ponderosa pines and fallen logs. Easy to get lost. I called Lala from there. Signal was back a bit. "Truck's not here. Found a footprint." She sounded shaky. "Come back. Call the Rangers." So I did. Drove up, mind racing with dumb ideas. Maybe he hiked up to us? But no, we'd have seen him. Or maybe someone picked him up. No tracks for that either. The ranger station in Flagstaff answered quick. Guy named Tom sounded bored at first. I explained everything. The calls, the engine at night, the missing truck. He got serious. "Yeah, happens sometimes up there. People get stuck, try to walk for better signal or help. Winter erases tracks fast. Snow fills them in, wind smooths it over." He paused. "We'll send a team, but if he went into the woods, well, folks don't always come back." That hit me. The terror wasn't some monster or ghost. It was knowing Kipley might be alive out there, wandering, cold, buried under a drift, or hurt, calling for help, but the silence swallows it. We searched that day with the Rangers, dogs, snowshoes, yelling till our throats hurt. Found nothing. No more prints, no dropped phone, no propane tanks even. Like the mountain took him. Days turned to weeks. Cops investigated, said maybe he drove off deliberate, but that didn't fit Kipley. He had a kid in Sedona, Loved fishing on weekends. We checked hospitals in Phoenix, even Tucson. Nothing. Lala and I argued about it once. She thought maybe animals, but no blood or signs. I snapped at her. Stop guessing. Felt bad after. Nights now I hear that engine roar in my dreams. Or think I do. The cabin feels emptier. I forgot to fix the leaky faucet in the bathroom that week, so it drips constant, like a reminder. Kipley's sister called from Albuquerque, crying. What happened? I couldn't say. Still can't. The Rangers closed the case as missing, presumed lost in the elements. But that footprint bugs me, facing the woods. Why? Did he see something? Hear a voice? Or just bad luck, a wrong step? Winter up here doesn't care. It erases clues, leaves you wondering. Is he out there, frozen? Or did he make it somewhere, amnesia or whatever? The not knowing, that's the real horror. Makes you question every shadow in the snow. Sometimes I drive by that turnout, stare at the trees. Wonder if I should have gone out at 2 a.m. Irrational, yeah. But guilt sticks. Kipley was family. And now, gone. Like the mountain decided to keep him. I tell myself he's okay somewhere, but deep down, I know better. Winter's silence erases everything.